Hey everybody, I hope everybody's having a good day today. Before I get started, I just want to say thank you to all of you guys out there who have stuck with me over the years. I know from time to time I talk about some pretty controversial issues. I'm always trying to get people to think outside of the box, to think outside of the traditional religious beliefs that most of us have been indoctrinated into. You know, Jesus said his words are spiritual. You know, there's spiritual meanings behind his words, and people look at literal words, and they are not using their spiritual eyes in a lot of cases. And for all you guys out there that have stuck with me, I appreciate you, and I appreciate your encouragement and your support. Thank you so much. Today I want to talk about the army of God, and the book of Revelations and the book of Jude. It speaks about Enoch, and you know, I want to break it down a little bit into the Greek. You know, for some time now I've been breaking a lot down into the Greek and the Hebrew, just to confirm what God has already shown me in the Spirit, and I try to share that with you guys. You know, some time ago, probably 3 years ago, I made a video and I said that we are the white horse. We're the horse that Jesus is riding down. You know, we're the army of God. I want to read to you the Greek definition of the word revelation, and I've done this before, but I want to do it again. The word is actually apocalypsis, and it's the Strong's number 602, and it means unveiling, uncovering. Revealing is principally used of the revelation of Jesus Christ, especially a particular spiritual manifestation of Christ previously unknown to the extent because it was veiled or covered. You know, before you guys were called, before you were born again, we lived in darkness, and we couldn't see the truth, you know, because everything was hidden from us. But whenever our spiritual eyes were open, whenever those scales fell from our eyes, just like they did from Paul, we saw the truth, and we were enlightened to the truth. But Revelation is apocalypsis, and it's a spiritual manifestation of Christ. I want to read to you the word martyr. The Greek word for martyr is martys, which is 3144. It means a witness, an eye or an ear witness, God's witnesses, to be a witness for him, serve him by testimony. Okay? And the word for testimony is directly connected to martyr. It's martyria, and it's 3141. It's connected to martyr. You know, whenever you become born from above, you lose your life. You become a slave. It's not a slave in what most people comprehend a slave to be, but you're no longer your own. You know, your life is forever indebted to the one that saved you, and so you testify about his love and his healing power. You know, something you just can't hold in. You can't stop yourself. You become a martyr through your testimony. You know, a lot of people have told me that I would be accursed because I've changed the prophecies of this book. You know, a lot of people actually believe whenever it says in end of Revelation that I warn everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book, if anyone adds anything to them, God will add to him the plagues described in this book. You know, they think that it's talking about the entire Bible, but there wasn't even any Bibles back then. It was talking about the prophecy of John the Revelator. But actually, the ones who are accursed are the ones that translated the original writings from the Greek into Latin and then into English, because whenever they did that, they changed the meanings of the words. They're the ones accursed, not me. In Jude, verses 14 through 16, it reads, Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied about these men. See, the Lord is coming with thousands upon thousands of his holy ones to judge everyone and to convict all the ungodly of all the ungodly acts they have done in the ungodly way, and of all the harsh words ungodly sinners have spoken against him. I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to read verse 16. But it says Enoch the seventh from Adam. And the number 7 in the Greek word is hebdomos, which is 1442. There's a lot of 144s in these numbers today, or 141. But the number 7 means the result of God's perfect finished work. Remember, Enoch was one who pleased God. You know, he sought after God. He sought after to hear the voice of God. But it says, behold, the Lord is coming. And it means to experience, to perceive, to beware or discern, to see with the mind, to spiritually see. See with an inward spiritual perception. And this word is connected to another Strong's word, 1492, which is eido, E-I-D-O, and it means to know, remember, appreciate, seeing that becomes knowing. It's a gateway to grasp spiritual truth. So behold, the Lord is coming with thousands upon thousands of his holy ones. And that word for thousands upon thousands is myriad, which is myrius, 3461. It means 10,000 or a number too large to count. Okay? But it says he's coming, or he is amidst them. He is among them. Okay? And that word is E-N, and the number is 1792, and it means in, on, among. Now listen to this. It means properly inside, within, in the person's nature. The Lord is coming with thousands upon thousands of his holy ones. These holy ones that's been spoken about are those who have lost their life. They have been martyred, their testimony for him. They're no longer their own. They've been bought at a price. And they are coming down from a spiritual place, not from some place far away that nobody can see. It's a spiritual place. But it says within, that he is among them. That means within, in the person's nature, their soul, thought of anyone, the presence of, by virtue of a spiritual fellowship or union with Christ, inspired by the Holy Spirit. You know, if you've been born of God, born from above, that means God is producing the fruit of the Spirit through you. And the fruit of the Spirit is God's nature, his character. It's not your works, it's God's work. You can't boast. You can't ever think too highly of yourself. But it says these people are coming down to judge everyone and convict all the ungodly. Well, what convicts the ungodly? The Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God that's in them, and the new nature that they've been given. These people can see that God is in them, and that, they're judged just by their actions and deeds. It's not a literal judgment. You know, in Revelations chapter 19, in verse 11 it says, I saw heaven standing open, and there before me was a white horse, whose rider is called Faithful and True. With justice he judges and makes war. Then go down to verse 14. It says, the armies of heaven are following him, riding on white horses and dressed in fine linen, white and clean. You know, this Enoch was prophesying about the same thing that John the Revelator was seeing in the Spirit here as well. You know, and a lot of people have a carnal ideology of the scroll of Revelations, and they try to put a time frame in it. You know, try to put it all into a package and try to package it up for the whole world. But this is something that's been happening since, in my opinion, has been happening since 70 AD or before, you know. But I want to read to you the definition of the word elect, you know, or chosen. Elect is chosen, select, those chosen out by God to choose out of, especially as a deep personal choice. You know, the word call is to invite, and it's kaleo, it's 2564. It means to invite, to name, summon, appoint one to salvation. But it has a root word of kaleo, which is K-E-L-E-U-O, and it's Strong's 2753, and it means command, order, direct, bid, to urge on, commanded, assign a post to, often used as a military appointment. If you've been called, if you've been chosen by God, and you know that if you've been called by God, you know, if you've been martyred, if you have a testimony of God's power to take something broken and despised and to make it, to create something out of nothing, then you have been called out and you've been enlisted into the army of God. Remember, our fight is not with flesh and blood, it's spiritual fight. It's with religion. You know, I believe there's duality in everything that's written, and I believe that the book of Revelations was talking about some things that happened before 70 AD and up to the time of 70 AD, because they were dealing with those who refused to let go of the law, refused to believe that Christ was the Messiah and the way to the Father. And that I believe that nowadays we're going through the same thing. There's those who refuse to come out of religion and the doctrines of men, and then there are those who know the truth, and they're trying to pull people from the pit, trying to open their eyes to the truth so that they can see it. And it's a war, because you're dealing with religious spirits. So for all of you out there who've been called, remember, you weren't called because of something you did. It's God's will that you were called. You can't ever boast about your own works. You know that if you've been changed by God. You can't ever think too highly of yourself. You remember who you were, where you came from. I know it's for myself that the night that God came to me and changed me, I felt there was no way out. There's nowhere else for me to turn. I had nothing else. That point in my life to where I give up. I said, there's nothing I can do. And that's when God came to me and changed me. But I'd gone through so much tribulation in my life to finally reach that point. It took me until I was 45 years old to reach that point, to know that you know, the way that I'm doing things isn't working. You know, it's like the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over, expecting a different result each time. Remember, the Greek word for tribulation is thlipsis, 2347. It means persecution, affliction, distress, pressure, what constricts or rubs together. Internal pressure that causes someone to feel confined, restricted, without options. Internal pressure of a tribulation, especially when feeling there is no way to escape. Jesus Christ is the light, the truth. He's the only way to the Father. And He is the only way to escape this hell on earth. I love you all. God bless.